Unified on court, but a different attitude among the crowd.
These are for girls only. Remind me of your gender again.
The Queensland Suns all-boys team, the new under-18 state champions, beating Bond University's Bull Sharks, an all-female side.
They should have forfeited. Yet again, we're seeing male entitlement.
Everyone should have the right to participate in any sport they choose, and it doesn't matter what your gender is.
What's up, YouTube? Poor Man Podcast back with another video. Give me the HBO special. That's the Help a Brother Out special. Hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Let's get right into the video.
An all-boys netball team is allowed to compete against an all-girls team for the state title. Now, the all-boys team wins every match, running up huge scorelines, including a 30-goal victory in the grand final. All the while, parents watch on. They're angry, but they're powerless from the sidelines. Now, it all sounds like a bit of fiction, doesn't it? A Hollywood movie. That's exactly what happened at the Queensland Netball Titles earlier this week, where the all-male Queensland Suns blitzed their all-female competitors to be crowned the Queensland Under-18 State Champions. Now, it's been labelled crazy and unfair, but Netball Queensland is refusing to apologise. For her reaction, I want to bring co-founder of Save Women's Sport Australasia, Catherine Deves. Catherine, you may have been a netballer in your day. I was. I played mixed netball, but I don't know if I'd like to be in a team of women going up against a team of athletic men. Who in their right mind thought this was okay?
Well, look, I was a field hockey player, but what I'd like to say is that when Netball Australia says this is all about inclusion, who's being included here? Because it's certainly not the women and girls.
I agree, though.
They're being excluded. They're being expected to yet again sacrifice their sports to make sure that men and boys feel included and men and boys feel good about themselves. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous, and I'm not surprised that the parents are absolutely furious about this, and I am sure that if the girls were asked privately, they would also be very unhappy with what's happening here.
I agree.
Yeah, you're referring to a statement by the Netball Queensland CEO, Catherine Clark. I'll put it up on the screen for people. She said that we stand by the decision to choose inclusion over exclusion. Let's judge the decision in 12 months' time and see how many boys and men's team we have. Because if we can't, you can't be it if you, you can't see it if you can't be it. Now,
this stuff is honestly like comedy at this point. It's hard to watch this and actually take this stuff seriously, because what's going to happen over the next 12 months is more and more men's teams are going to flood the league because they see that you're being inclusive. They're going to continue to dominate until the point where women don't want to compete anymore because they know that they don't stand a chance against the men. That's what's going to happen if you continue to be inclusive. And I tip my hat off to the men's team because they were absolutely trolling. Because netball is predominantly a female sport, when they wanted to throw their own tournament, they didn't have enough men. So they said, hey, we should be inclusive. All genders are fluid. We're all the same thing. There are no differences between men and women.
Everyone should have the right to participate in any sport they choose, and it doesn't matter what your gender is.
There is no boys' tournament due to low player numbers, so the team was placed in the girls' competition.
This was just an opportunity and a platform for the men and boys to continue to grow and love and explore and experience our game.
We just want to create a space where boys can play netball and sort of change that landscape.
And so somebody actually let them into the league to compete against the women in the state championship, and you see the result of that. The women got dominated.
Unified on court, but a different attitude among the crowd.
These are for girls only. Remind me of your gender again.
The Queensland Suns all-boys team, the new under-18 state champions, beating Bond University's Bull Sharks, an all-female side.
One of my former teammates, Matt Geyer, his daughter actually played against that male team. They had no chance. Like the males were just like too fast, too physical. It was just a disadvantage to the girls.
And if it continues, more and more men's teams are going to come in and dominate, because to be completely honest, men are on average 5 or 6 inches taller than women. Men way more. We're faster. In terms of upper body strength, we have about 75% more upper body muscle mass and about 90% more upper body strength than women. So we're going to have competitive advantages against women. But again, gender is fluid. There are no differences. There are no differences between men and women. So that's where the contradiction lies. And at least the woman right now that they quoted, the Catherine girl, at least she's consistent with her beliefs. If she believes that there are no differences in gender, well, then you do kind of have to be inclusive. right? So at least she kind of, it's ridiculous to me, but at least she is consistent with her beliefs. You can't say that there are no differences between men and women, but yet men can't compete against women in sports. That is to acknowledge an absolute difference between men and women. So
no issue if there's a male competition, but why would you have a state competition that's predominantly always been women and suddenly bring the blokes in and have the blokes win the grand final 30 goals to the women's team? That doesn't seem fair to me.
No, when we watch women's sports, we want to see the best women and girls that the world has to offer. We don't want to see men and boys taking up space on the netball court or on the podium. And frankly, I'd like to say to these boys, they should have forfeited. I mean, if they wanted to play netball, they should have done what women and girls have always historically done over the years and decades and centuries of fighting for equality, for access to sporting opportunities. And we've gotten out there, we've done the recruiting, we've done the fundraising, we've built our own leagues. And here you have these boys going, oh, I want to be included, so I'm just going to jump on in with the women, and I don't care about their right to fair competition, don't care about their right to safety. I'm just going to play. So yet again, we're seeing male entitlement, a lovely example of it here from Netball Australia.
Yeah, and of course, women.
why would the men have to forfeit? Why should the men forfeit? Because to me, it sounds like you acknowledge some kind of inherent biological advantage that the men have over the women, and that's why they should practice chivalry and forfeit the match for the benefit of the women. Right? But I thought we weren't supposed to practice chivalry anymore. I thought that was out of the window because women don't need men. And so, did you just assume their gender? Because if that's what you just did, that's offensive to me. Right? Because gender is fluid. So at any moment, you could identify with whatever you wanted to identify as. So if before I go on that basketball court or netball court or whatever it's called, if I identify as a woman, you have to treat me as such. So this is no longer men against women. This is women against women. Because trans women are women. And there is no such thing as the men were feeling entitled. They weren't men. They were women when they played the sport. That's what they identified as, and that's how you have to treat them. And these are the contradictions that are in the argument that this is promoting. You can't say that you feel like a woman one moment and you feel like a man at one moment, but there are no differences between women and men. That makes no sense. You saying you feel like a woman and then you feel like a man says that there's a difference in how those two things are. The being of those two things are different. So the whole argument is a contradiction. And then you want to try to just make it seem like the men were entitled. No, they were practicing a sport. They were joining a league that they were accepted in. Why is that them being entitled to anything? They were accepted. They won the championship through hard work, and it was a fair match, right?
Fought for a long time in AFL to get a women's league up. I mean, if this sort of decision stands, you'd be putting men into the women's AFL league, even though there is already a men's AFL league, and you're taking the cause of women's sport back by decades. I would have got another issue.
It hurts
the
for them to have
Olympic
to say what
Committee,
they
they've
say.
delayed the release
It
of the
hurts
new
them because they have to
transgender
admit that men are
guidelines until next year,
better
due,
at
they
sports.
say, to an apparent conflicting opinion. But the IOC's Medical and Science Director, Dr. Richard Budgett, has reassured athletes that the guidelines will prioritise both inclusion and the avoidance of harm. How is it possible to do that if you're going to have biological male athletes again compete against women?
Well, you can't. Quite frankly, as I've said, when you have inclusion of men and boys or men and boys with a special self-declared identity, women and girls lose out. Now, if you look at the principles of sport, fair competition, player safety and welfare and inclusion, you cannot equally balance those. And what the IOC are doing here is they're yet again going to prioritise inclusion, and they're going to put the burden of giving up fair competition and safety on women. So it's completely outrageous. And they should just face up to the fact that they are prioritising the inclusion of males and admit it instead of pretending that they're trying to be fair to everybody, because they're not.
Save Women's Sport co-founder Catherine Deves, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Have a good evening.
In all honesty, though, we completely agree. I pretty much agree with her on every topic, but I don't agree with how she went about saying it. I don't think that the men should quit and let the women win. I don't believe that. I don't think that this is some kind of form of male entitlement. If you're a feminist, and because this idea comes specifically from feminism, the idea that men and women are the same, you can't then go and blame this on the patriarchy when your idea gets exploited and shown to be ridiculous. You can't then double back and say, hey, this is male entitlement, this is a part of the patriarchy. No, this idea comes directly from feminism, so stand on your words. Even when they get shown to be ridiculous, stand on your words. Now, can we be done with it? We have so many more conversations to have, and we're stuck on whether people should use certain bathrooms. Let's talk about the ever-growing threat that is the CCP to Western civilization. Can we talk about that just a little bit? Maybe dabble? Do people think that China's gonna care about your gender pronouns when they kick in the door? Like, honestly, do you think that China's gonna care about whether you identify as a male or female or what bathroom you use when they kick in your door and they tell you have to do what we say or you're going to die? Do you think that they're going to care about that? Because that's the real threat to Western civilization right now that we just don't look at, because we think the threat is somebody calling a man a man when they identify as a female. Till next time.